Good morning, everybody. After that intro, I think we're set to get our priorities straight, to stay focused, to get clear, to be Be'ezrat Hashem, taking advantage of the privilege of learning Torah another day here in Eretz Yisrael, to be with simcha, to be with love, with excitement. If you have the Svarim, please open up to Daf Lamed Zayin. Daf Lamed Zayin. If you have the pages, Daf Lamed Zayin, I'm going to get right to it. I know it's already late. Also, one more important thing. Wednesday there won't be shir, because Wednesday we have the bris here in the shul of Mishpachat Dei Toledo. So we're going to be davening upstairs. So Wednesday no shir, okay? But today we're Bezrat Hashem learning.
Once we're making that Friday, we're starting.
Friday shir,
Regular
yeah.
davening, regular learning?
There's never regular davening here, ever,
Is it more,
ever.
more musical, or is it...
Come and find out. Announcements will come out.
But the learning will be...
The learning will be learning. There'll be a breakfast also on Friday, just letting everyone, all the chevra know. So now everyone's going to make sure that not musical, not musical, breakfast. So everyone will be here. Okay, Chaverim, let's get focused. Listen, it's not a shock to anyone that this type of learning is striking such sensitive chords by so many different people. And I encourage Chevra that if they're not understanding something or something's not stemming with them inside, don't hold back. There's always a whole world of Chevra here, including myself, that is more than happy to continue the learning after Shir, because this is very deep and important concepts that we must be open to and be vulnerable about. Especially the last thing that we learned, which spoke about the concept of approaching Tikkun Medina be'anava, with humility. That raised a lot of different things. It was a very interesting few days after last week's shir by many different people. And it's fine. I have no problem. You know this. Right? I have no problem making Chaver feel uncomfortable, as long as it's lishma. Not uncomfortable l'shem being uncomfortable, but uncomfortable l'shem being more plugged in, more. Myself included, I have to get uncomfortable with this type of learning as well. There's no other way. There's no other way. So that's the last thing we were learning about, which was the second nekuda on the 5 levels of nefesh, ruach, neshama, chai, yechida. The last thing we were learning, operating from the place of a soul, approaching the soul, through the soul, we started speaking about that what prevents a person from seeing darkness and staying focused on another person's darkness is gaiva. This morning I was learning something from Rav Shlomo. So deep. He was saying that the difference between Korach and Aaron HaKohen was that when Korach saw something ugly in somebody else, he said, this is just more of a proof that they need me to be the Kohen Gadol. That's the conclusion he got to. When Aaron HaKohen saw ugliness or darkness in someone else, he prayed to the Rebbeinu Shleilim, please make me a sweeter diet, make me a deeper manhig, make me be a better kohen, make me be a better kohen. We're here, Chavre, we're here in this year to take achrayas, to take responsibility for what is, not just pointing out what's wrong, but that's easy. That's like an easy thing. That's not this year. Tikkun Amida B'Pnimius is taking achrayas, is taking responsibility when I notice that something's off, that something's wrong. So that is basically how we ended off last week's shir. We learned on Wednesday, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so today we're starting with the bottom paragraph on Daf Lamed Zayin. Achrei she'akarnu b'metziut ha'choshech betochenu. So after I notice darkness on the outside, but I'm anav enough to realize that it's pointing to a place of darkness that may still be residing in me, on whatever level it is. Again, the achrayus aspect of it, looking out, realizing, Tov, I know there's a bilbul out there, but where is this inside of me? So after recognizing that there may be choshech in me, aleinu litbonen heitev la'omek. Now let's go deep. As if everything else was on the surface until now, right? Hashem yitbarach mechayeh et kol hamatzui ulelo chiyut zo ein kol efsharut shel kiyum. The fact that anything exists in the world is only because Hashem Yitbarach gives it certain vitality, gives it certain life force. There's nothing in the world that exists that doesn't have a nekuda of chiyus elokis in it, right? This is very clear in the Baal Tanya, and he's going to quote the Tanya shortly. So, I see anything in the world that has some kind of a force. I'm not saying good, bad, ugly, pretty. Just the fact that it exists means that there is a chiyut elokit that's in the thing that I see. If there wasn't chiyut elokit, guess what would happen to it? Wouldn't exist. It just wouldn't exist. Muvanim can now, if a few concepts aren't clear today, you have to learn, and I'm not going to do this today, but there's a certain parak in the Tanya that you have to learn inside out to understand, just so that this language flows very clearly. We're going to speak about one of them. But you know what would happen to us if we stop with the notion, if we actually internalize what we just said right now? What would happen to us if I internalized the notion that every single thing that exists in the world, it only can exist because there's a chiyut elokit in it? What would that change about my life?
Stop resisting
everything.
So much? Yeah.
Everything. It would actually change everything. Absolutely everything. It doesn't mean I would start liking the darkness that's in front of me. But what would it do? It would basically say, Ribono Shleim, what am I supposed to extract from here? Besides one thing, that it exists in order to be wiped out. Amalek. But everything else, it exists, there's a chiyut elokit in there, in order for me to extract from it a certain nekuda. A certain something. And it takes a lot of humility to live like that. Mamash, a lot of humility to live like that. There's so many things like we look at in people or ideas and concepts, and we say, Ribono Shleim, did you make a mistake? We don't say that, but we mumble it. And they're like, Hashem, I think something got messed up in the order of operations up there. Where is that? That's gaiva. That's gaiva.
You also live with a tremendous larger amount of clarity.
Eventually, yeah. It's a long journey. It's a long journey. In the beginning, it's not so clear. I know it to be a truth, but it's not so clear. I don't see it exactly. It's a truth that I take. I say, this exists because there's a chiyus elokis here. There's some godly spark in here. I don't know what it is. It's not clear to me. But if I stick with it, and I humble myself, and I continue to clear out my kishkas, I will eventually live the clearest life in the world. Just to
be clear, you're saying including the negative, what we perceive as the negative forces. Of course. I'm saying
Dafka
including
in this
is there so that we should be able to timcha.
But in this year, listen, here we're not. That's not.
That?
Yeah, but that's not the focus of here, because that's not. We don't need a shir in order to. Maybe people do actually. They need a shir to teach them that Amalek is something that needs to be wiped out. But here we're trying to talk about amongst the Klal Yisrael, amongst Klal Yisrael.
Shalom to everyone in the community. I was here before you guys were here. There was nothing here. Rabbi brought everything.
Love you. I love you, Reb Leibele. Love you. He's a big kid. I went to Uman for the first time with him. He wrote, you know, Chaim David's Nigun. He wrote it, Reb Leibele Greenberg. He's up in Tzfaz. Yeah, he's a big kid. Right? Look what happened. What were you thinking? Tell me the truth. Tell me the truth right now. What a chutzpah. How much money does he... How much money... That was a Hasidic tale, what just happened right now. You realize that? Mamish, like it couldn't be more clear. Yeah, I know him since I'm a kid. Okay? And that's him. That's just him. It's all good. Yeah. I know him since I'm a kid. Okay. Go back into... everybody knows what do we know, right? Everybody knows what do we know. What do we know? Back inside. Muvanim ken. Shegam hachoshech chai mikocho. Darkness, in fact it exists, only exists because in darkness there's a koyach of chiyut elokit. Ulezot hu zochem mipnei ha'or hatamun betocho, because there's light that's placed deep inside the darkness. And that's the only way darkness could actually exist in the world. Ein choshech she'en bepnimiyuto or vatov. ואפילו אור גדול ביותר, אלא שמפאת עומקו אין משיגים אותו במבט ראשון, והוא נשאר חשוך. He says there's no such thing as darkness that doesn't have inside of it, deep inside of it, goodness and light. Even great light. Even great light. Only problem is because it's placed so deep and beneath the surface, when you look at it in the beginning, or the second time, or the 30th time, or the 50th time, you can't really see it. You can't really see it. Now turn the page. Now we're getting actuali. Now we're getting a bit actual. And I'm begging you all, again, don't point to the obvious messed up things here. Let him show it to us what it means, okay? I already know what some of the things that we're going to be learning about are going to trigger. Understand it. I want to learn this bipnimius. It's just too easy to write everyone off. We have to understand what we're trying to write off and what our avoda is. Our avoda in this world is not to write people off. That's not the inyan. Yes, we have to kill Amalek, but what about Am Yisrael that doesn't, Yachad stands for?
Together.
No, that's what it means. What's a Rashi Tevis? Yachad means Yesh Chilukei Deot. You have to realize that. Yachad, the fact that we're together, means there's Chilukei Deot, bless you, in the togetherness.
What about these people that Jeremy's always referred to?
Ari.
It's always
Same
so
thing.
confusing.
Yeah.
Really. The Erev Rav.
Not getting into that today. Let's
Yes,
first.
Inyan.
You know what? I have an idea. No. I have an idea. Let's first figure out how to master all the other Torahs besides Erev Rav, and then if we're still left with Erev Rav, we'll deal with them too. How's that?
But there is, I think what I was
Always
trying to
was, always will be.
I don't need to. But I'm trying to ask, I think, better.
There always
is
was,
an Erev Rav.
there always will be until Mashiach comes. The avoda, if we're going to start first by detecting who Erev Rav is,
I know what it is.
then good luck. Atzlacha Rabbah to all of us. We've been trying to do that for a long time. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. If it was so sneaky, even at the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, then now we're going to have the kelim to be able to detect Erev Rav and who's not Erev Rav. I understand.
So that means we
It
can't
would
say
seem.
Erev Rav.
It would seem that it would make the journey easier because I could just puzzle a bunch of people. It would seem like that. That's the snake.
That's there.
Haniglot lanu levaneinu. Haniglot. You just thought this guy came to ask for money. Or was a chutzpaniak that bowed in the middle of the shir. And I'm telling you, I went with him to Uman the first time in my life. You see how confusing the world is. So lama sheker. You're going to start detecting Erev Rav. It's easy. I myself, I've fallen into that so many times because there's so many people. There's so many people that have taken the concept of Am Yisrael coming back after 2,000 years and twisted it in such a dark way that it seems like it's obvious they're Erev Rav. Well, it was so obvious to believing Jews that people are Erev Rav, we'd be in such a better place. It'd be so clear. And yet it's not. No, it's good what you're saying. It's good. I'm just sharpening our focus over here. Weiter. Lo kashen. Now he says here, things that have darkness, they're so dark, but in there there's light. Lo kashe limtsui bituim lachoshech hapnimi shelanu. It's not hard to find expressions for our inner darkness. Hem mitgalgalim bechol pina. They're running around all over the place. Mevakshim bima upirsomet. They're looking for the stage. Like what? Tahalich hashalom. What a statement. Tahalich hashalom.
Is this the choshech that inside of us is revealed out there?
He's saying when you look at it out there, just understand something. We also would like to say we are people that want inside. I'm an ish shalom. Ani rotze tahalich shalom bifnim. Yesh nekuda shel chiyud shama. It's not stam. What you're seeing out there is a shish takfut of what's going on inside of you.
Shalom is good.
It's the best. But what do you have to do before shalom? That's the inyan. He's gonna show us. Talich hashalom, lemashal, gadol hashalom. How great is shalom, right? Melamdim chazal. What's greater than shalom? En kli machzik bracha ela shalom, chazal say. Shalom, having peace, is the only vessel that actually is able to hold any bracha that we have, that we're given. Ach talich hashalom anochechi, but the way the world has taken the concept called peace process, Hu begeder shalom, shalom, ve'en shalom. Keep on talking about shalom. Nicht gur nicht shalom. It's exactly the opposite of shalom. Ga'ava v'chomranut. What?
Yirmiyah.
From Yirmiyahu Hanavi.
So this is-
Yeah. Ga'ava v'chomarnut yeter. So gaiva, pride, and chomarnut yeter, that means an excessive amount of materialism. Hen haminiyot et hatalich, those are the things that are driving this peace process, what's called the peace process. Hakanua v'mitrapes hazeh. This is interesting. Moshe, how would you say that?
Groveling.
The groveling and weak concept called peace process. She'en bo, and in this what's called peace process, en bo af lo echad mima'afyenav shel shalom emet. There is nothing to do with shalom emet, and what we've taken, words like talich shalom, it has nothing to do with each other. Unless last Shabbos you felt such a beautiful desire to do a heilige Shabbos Mevarchim Adar in Amman, and you felt so loved, and the warm Jordanian Hachnasas Archim touched your heart so much. I don't think anyone's done that. I don't think it's in the cards until Mashiach comes, at all. Or, whatever. We can give a million examples, like Pesach in Cairo, or all these different things, right? The only place where people think there's shalom, and this is just the sad truth, if there's one country we made a peace process, where people think that there's shalom, what area? Sinai. That's because everyone's tripping face there. It's nothing real. Everyone's flying off their rocker. It's not something that's mamashi, that's in this world that you can hold on to. Zelo shalom, zelo kashur leze. But the words are being used. This process, Rav Ginsburg says, "Umovil otanu lemilchama." This peace process is actually bringing us to war. Uleod ve'od shvichot damim Hashem yirachem, and it only brings us to more bloodshed. God forbid. Shlomo HaMelech melamdenu bechokmato sheshalom enot tzomeach mivitur. King Solomon taught us shalom cannot sprout forth from giving something up. Compromises. Vadai shelo kasher avitur hu al haemet. Especially when part of what you're giving up is not just a nice gesture, but it's when you're giving up emet. Okay, what's the emet that has become such a racist, fascist thing to say? What's the truth?
We love Jews. We have a note.
That's a wish.
Eretz Yisrael is ours.
Eretz Yisrael is ours. Like, that's the truth. That's a truth. The second, the concept peace process involves removing from that truth, it's already the dark side. Immediately. The dark side. It's evil.
It's a very hard thing when you're talking, peace, we're all equal, we're all created. The Bachar Ban is something that we have trouble with.
Especially when vitur, when you're giving up on part of the emet, the opposite of shalom is what you're about to approach. Now, what's led, we could have a whole mahalach list. What has led so many beautiful believing Jews to believe that giving up on part of that emet could actually be shalom? What could lead someone to say such words? To have such a thought? That's a whole mahalach. It's not for now. For us, it's very clear. Either this is the country, this is the land that Hashem gave us, or it's not. But don't say it is, but. Right? Don't say it is, but for the truth, it's like, listen, it's the same thing. I love my wife loves me. She does. It's true. But I know, like in the name of truth, she also has this inyan with this other ex-boyfriend. It's the truth. And I know it'll probably bring more shalva into the home if once every few years I just, that we get it out of the system. And this is, by the way, this is the name of the truth of the American society. You realize that what I just said right now is completely normal and legitimate in the insanity that swept the Western culture. And it's all done in the name of truth. Crazy. Sugar. In the name of love. Yeah, but it's just as crazy to call what happened here the peace process. You realize? Shalom Bayis. It's the same Inyan. Same exact Inyan. Even worse. Now, that's real. This gets back to what you brought up before. Et milchama. Who says these words? Who says et milchama et shalom? The king, the master of peace. Shlomo HaMelech. Et milchama. What does that mean? That first comes milchama. Milchemet emet ad hasof, which is something we haven't done yet here. Lelo atzira o pshara. Not stopping and not compromising the whole way through. Something that has not happened yet here. Verak ve'achar kach et shalom. Shalom can only come after the et milchama. The war is non-compromisable on any level, in any way, shape, or form. Only then can actual et shalom have a place in this world to exist. So that's what we learned a few weeks ago. Anyone that speaks about shalom, we quoted the Rebbe, a sikha from the Rebbe. Anyone that speaks of concepts of shalom uses that word in the context of what we've been dealing with here, and it doesn't have a Mashiach context within it, within the whole thing. It's not only wrong, he said it's mamish mesukan. It's dangerous. This is dangerous talk. It's dangerous talk. You see, we're going to the core words, the core yisodos of or in the world, and me'aveting. That means we're twisting it in its core. Zemesukan kvar. It's not like minor leagues. It's major league dangerous. Dangerous stuff. רק אם ינצח הטוב את הרע באמת, יוכל השלום לשרוד. Only if the real good will really beat the evil. באמת, only then can peace actually prevail. If you have the Sefer, go to Ot Chav Zayin in the back. Daf Kuf Mem Aleph. For those who don't have it, I'm going to read it outside. השתררות השלום הזו מותנית בתורה במעשינו. This type of peace that we're speaking about is dependent on our actions. הפועלים להגביר את הטוב שבתוכנו. That are working on accelerating the good that's within us. I know that people that have like these passionate nationalistic ideas, it's so hard to like stop and say, it really is dependent on how much I've cleaned my insides and my midos have mamish been cleaned in order for what I'm working for to have a kiyum. But there is no other way. Like it says, Im bechukotai telechu ve'et mitzvotai tishmaru v'asitam otam v'natati shalom ba'aretz u'shchavtem ve'en machrid v'yishbati chayara min ha'aretz v'cherev l'tavor ba'aretzachem. Like the famous psukim in Bechukosai that says, listen, if you really, really, really are one with the Torah, you know what's going to be? You know what's going to be? All your dreams of peace and beyond is what's going to happen. Shbati chayara min ha'aretz. Famous machloket of Yehuda Reb Shimon, what that actually means. We learned it once, that machloket, beautiful machloket, explaining the pnimius of what shalom really means. Ye'ud HaShalom. Now Rav Ginsburg's basing what he's saying now in the Tanya. Ye'ud HaShalom yusag be'ofen sofi v'shalem. The destination of peace will only be reached completely. Rak la'atid lavo. Shalom achshav. Why? Ribono shel olam. Ribono shel olam. Shalom achshav. That's like the craziest thing in the world. You know, on one of the...
Exists today after this thing? Much, much less. Like,
it's now, the energy is now...
The thing of peace now almost seems like the dimion. Nobody believes it.
It's different now. It's iskach shav. It's the same...
We just learned it. Eight milchama. First eight milchama. I heard there was a person wearing a Shalom Achshav t-shirt helping to block the aid trucks going to Gaza. So that answers your question. It's
all confusing. It's such... Listen, in one of the houses in Beirut, you know what I saw? This was the craziest thing. In a room that I can't imagine what kind of zvaot olam took place in that room. Shelon eda. With probably rape and the stench of blood in that room, cracked glass, burnt home, stickers of Shalom Achshav on those windows. Right? Now, again, I see that and I could say to myself, c'est idiotim. But first of all, these are Kedosh, they were killed like Kiddush Hashem, they're with Rabbi Akiva, they're with Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol, Mani Mevin. But that's not the avoda is to look at that and say, what nikuda is there in here that I'm supposed to be extracting from this call called shalom achshav. Shalom achshav bifnim, בתוך הגוף שלי, בתוך הראש שלי, בתוך הלב שלי. אני רוצה להיות יהודי שמתפלל כל היום, שיהיה לי שלום עכשיו. כן, I do. I want to be a yid that's begging Hashem that I should have serious shalom bayit between my body and my soul. Shalom achshav. Only then can real shalom ever exist in the world. It's only then. But what are these statements there to tell me? To tell me that these people are fools? Hashem Yirachem? I don't need that. If I'm a chassid, I look at that, and then I go deep inside and say, where am I asking Hashem that there should be shalom right now in my life, in my heart, in my soul, my wife and my children, my chaveri, my kehila, my yidden? That's what I have to do. And Gaiva doesn't let me. Only Anava can open the gate for me to look at the world like that. Now he quotes from the Alter Rebbe from Igeres HaKodesh. Lifamim hatov gover ulifamim lahefech chas v'shalom. Sometimes good overrides the evil, and sometimes chas v'shalom the opposite. Ve'en shalom ba'olam ad eit ketz. But shalom will only be in the world when Mashiach comes. Sheyitbarer hatov mehara. What?
Like the Chayal said.
I'm sorry?
Like that Chayal said.
Which chayal?
The one that told you there will only be shalom.
Yeah, Beis Hamikdash, yeah. Sheyitbarer hatov mehara. There'll be a sifting through all the darkness in the world with all the good that's extracted from it. There'll be total havdalah. Sheyidaber hatov mehara lidabek b'shorasho mekoro mekor hachayim baruch hu, so that good can come back home and be restored and rooted in its source. Ve'azai, and then when that happens, yispardu kol pa'alei avim. Okay, you all know what that means, since you all say that at least twice a week in Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbos. So what does Yitpardu Kol Po'alei Avin mean?
The darkness, misery disappear.
Yitpardu Kol Po'alei Avin. Any ones that are working on causing harm, on causing bilbul, will have a hafrada. Yitpardu Kol Po'alei Avin. That's why we say it on Shabbos, because Shabbos is Me'ein Olam Haba. Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbos. Shabbos, I get a taste of what it's going to be like, where there will be that a shalom. So on Shabbos, I say, Yitpardu Kol Po'alei Avin. Veruach HaTumah Ya'avor Min Ha'aretz. And the spirit of Tumah will be removed from the face of the earth. Back inside.
But he is saying
Back inside.
it
Yeah.
won't happen at 8 hits. Which means,
It means Mashiach.
I understand, which means our tahalich will not bring us to fruition until HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides that it is time for the Gula Shlema.
On a national level.
The Ma'anaf Kamina, though?
No, the nafkamina is it's something we could strive for and work on in our pneumias
Right.
as you keep coming to
Right.
back. The first work is
Right.
internal.
So that means the word achshav is really, yeah.
It also means we have to be realistic in our expectation of what we can accomplish.
No.
Up to
Never.
this point.
Never.
You're saying that on the premise that Hashem just is going to one day decide, okay, now's the time, here it comes, as opposed to us having to work for it and
Of
prepare
course, we have
ourselves.
to work for it.
So then you
There's
can't be
no
Mevat
Sheva
there.
al-Tasa here.
Yeah, but you said you have to be, I have no idea what that means. You have to be realistic with our expectations.
They're saying the Et Ketz is like a time, we don't know what it is, but Et Ketz could be when we do
Ed
the
kids
tikkun.
can be this afternoon. It can be this moment. The Rebbe told us already. It's a matter of, it's like this.
So Mashiach now, yes. Shalom Achshav, no.
Interesting. I was actually just about to say that. What do you mean when you say Mashiach now?
That's not what I mean. It's what is meant.
You're going outside.
I don't speak for them.
Steve, I'm not asking you what do they mean.
What do I mean?
What does Mashiach now mean? What could the pneumius of saying Mashiach now?
First of all, except Ani Mami, the whole Yom She'yavo, that it literally can be the whole Yom.
I'm sorry. Say that again. I want to focus on every word you're saying.
Ani Mami, daily, the whole Yom She'yavo, I have to believe that the whole Yom,
It can be now.
It
Yeah.
can be.
Yeah.
And that I have a role to play.
So maybe Mashiach now actually means Shalom Achshav.
In essence, yes. They're
Okay.
both Lishma.
Hashem is the judge of what's Lishma.
And so we
Hashem is the judge of what's lishma. I'm not. I could just try. Kan nidreshet itbonenut la'omek. Now we have to introspect deeply. Like whenever he says that, I feel like such an idiot because I'm thinking, what was till now? Like I am scratching. Kan nidreshet itbonenut la'omek. Okay, now let's introspect things deeply. Ki b'tchia levada in tzedek, because by again, tchia levada, by saying that's rejected and that's rejected, it doesn't really get me anywhere. Like the guy I told you that has such simcha when he's looking for his zivug and he goes out on 15 dates, and he had such a geschmack that after every date he said, she's not for me. I'm thinking, why are you so happy? He's like, because I know what's not for me. Okay, you may be 85 going out on dates and having such a simcha, knowing exactly what's not for me. We may be stuck here for another 75 years just saying we're knowing what's not for us. But chiyah levada en tzedek. Chas v'chalila. Shouldn't be 7 more minutes. Let's choose what is good. Anu ma'aminim shebetoch hatalich harakuv hazeh, we believe that within this rotten process, the hijacking of the concept of shalom, hanoveh min meni'im rekuvim, which is sprouting forth really from motives that are rotten. Mistater or gadol. There's actually a big light. Now this is hard. It's hard to hear. Why? Because when I hear that there were Yidden that totally checked out on the Ribbon Shalom, and that all they wanted was to build a Singapore of the Middle East before they attributed that term to Gaza, it was the attempt was for that, for Eretz Yisrael to be like that. Telling you, I just want to knock that whole thing off and start from scratch. But Rav Ginsburg's saying you can't. Mistater, there's hidden beneath all of that, there's some huge or. There's a huge or gadol that never was before. Beneath all, give me a second. Beneath all of this, there's a massive light. Now again, he said before, the reason why, generally speaking, like that Yid that walked in before, that it's hard for us to see that things that pose themselves as off and darkness, and we keep on looking at it, and we can't see it, is because he's not saying that, listen, you just have to look a little bit deeper. When it comes to this stuff, it's not, you don't have to look a little bit deeper. You have to go so deep down inside your own heart and soul to find and place the deep kernel of light that must be within this thing called the establishment of the Jewish state of 1948. And that's a very, very big job, which demands big kelim to do it. Again, to write the whole thing off is not, you don't need to be a chacham. Like they told us the first week in learning for smicha. To be machmir or to passel something, you don't have to be a Talmid Chacham at all. At all. It's the easiest thing in the world. But the Chazal tell us, koach de'etera adifa. That means that if you have the wisdom to see how something could work, that is always adif. Always adif. We always would rather that. And that's true here as well. Let's birshutchem continue. Hage'ava. And that's the klipa of this whole thing, like we learned already last week. Gaiva. And when I say this, listen, in this country, the gaiva that came about from the last 50, 75 years when we speak about our military is a dangerous klipa. That's maybe how the world talks. Maybe that's how other nations talk. That can't be our talk. Can't be. Hagava ena ela bitui naful u'meuvat shel ga'avato shel Hashem yitbarach. He's saying, what is gaiva? What's the source of light that's within this gaiva? Hashem's gaiva. Gaiva v'agdula. What's Hashem's gaiva? What's Hashem's gaiva? What does that mean, Hashem's gaiva? A gaiva v'agdula. What does that mean? The word in Hebrew for gaiva is not a bad word. What's ge'eh? Proud. My daughter came home with a beautiful report card yesterday. Kama gava ayali. Mamash, I was so proud. Pride. He says that this concept of gaiva that's been covering over the klipa, that's been the klipa over finding the light, he says is a bitui naful u'meuvat. It means it's a distorted concept that fell from where? The concept of the gaiva of Hashem Yisbarach. שאותה מרגיש כל אחד מברואיו בסתר לבבו, that each person feels in the depth of their heart, הגaiva והגדולה לחי עולמים. We feel a gaiva. What's the gaiva that we feel deep down, deep in our hearts? What's the gaiva that we feel?
That Hashem gave us this koach.
That Hashem gave me a certain koach, meaning it's Hashem's koach that He gave in me. We all feel that deep down inside. When I'm not connected to that, I still feel the gaiva, but I don't feel where it's connected to in its root and in its source. So when it shows up on top of the surface, what does it look like? Inyan omed bifnei atzmo kochi ve'osem yad yasari t'chayil hazeh. Because it's something that came from a root of a gaiva v'agdula l'chai olamim, but because I didn't work hard on blowing off the dust from the nikudas hashoresh, from the chibur of it, what I end up seeing floating up to the surface is a bitu, or I shouldn't say floating up. It's really drowning down. And he said naful, something that fell down, really stems from something that's so holy. Hagaiva v'agdula l'chai olamim. But the way it manifests out here in this world, till it comes down to me, if I didn't protect that shmira on the yesh, over the yesh me'ayin, over the whole concept of bitul hayesh, it ends up showing up as its own inyan bifnei atzmo. Look at me.
So real gaiva is really anava when it's done.
He's going to explain right now what real gaiva is. Kshechashim et hagava ze nachon, when you sense it in the right way, מתפתלים ומתקשרים להשם יתברך מתוך ההבנה עד כמה גדול אדוננו ורב כוח. What would it lead to a person when this gaiva is in the proper way? You think you're a shmata? No. Do you think you're a macho man? No. So what's the middle ground? I'm the greatest, biggest, most powerful thing in the world. You have nothing on me. Why? Because הגaiva והגדולה לחי עולמים. זהו. It can only come from there. I'm nothing, and because I know I'm nothing, I become everything, and sorry guys, you can't touch this. You can't touch this. There's nothing here. Who are you to, like, you know, Rav Shlomo has this Torah on Yosef HaTzadik and Eshes Potiphar. How was he able to mamish bayanos vayetze achutza? So the Gemara, Rashi tells us, he quotes a Gemara in Sota. I wonder which of the Chevra got it in the Chalukah of Sota. Yeah.
So this morning I was learning in Sota. It's in Hay Aleph.
I think it's in.
And he says that the Talmud Chacham, if you want to be a Talmud Chacham, he has to have an eighth of Gaiva. That's how. Wait,
David, I'm stopping you. It's not where I want to go, Chevra. I need in these shiurim, I need you guys to have more patience, everyone. Because honestly, my brain is on fire right now, and if it gets stopped, everyone's gonna you need to sometimes just let it flow out. I want to go right. I'm sorry. I know everyone means well, but there's yesodot that we need to get through. Vayanos vayetze achutza. Rashi tells us over there, and it's brought down the Gemara Sota, that he saw an image of his father Yaakov in the window. So how did Reb Shlomo learn that out? What does it mean? He saw an image of his father, and then he suddenly had the koyach to not have that sexual taiva? Ma kesher? Ma ze kashur? He said that when he realized where he came from, he looked at her and he said, do you think you could ever seduce me? Do you know who I come from? You see, if we had a Jewish leader that looked at the world, that was talking to us about viturim, the same way the President of the United States is keeping Am Yisrael hostage right now. If we had a Jewish leader that they looked at their father, they looked in the mirror, they saw Yaakov Avinu, we would look at them and be like, we would laugh. It's like, what do you think I am? Some country that lives out in God knows where? And then would it be gaiva to talk like that? Would it be gaiva? Yes. It would be restored proper gaiva. It would be restored proper gaiva to speak like this. It has to be. But as long as that's not the way I'm looking at it, and other friends of ours, force us into compromise, you're endangering your brothers and sisters while you think you're actually working towards peace. And that is the ivut, that's the illusion of all illusions. And this concept of having Jewish pride, right, over the years, it got a little bit lost. It went more towards things that don't necessarily have to do with the pnimius of the shirish of I'm a chelik Eloka mimal, and it became more external things. And it's not our fault also. There was this very dark period where things were unclear called the Holocaust. Like, you have to understand, like, we've been through the slammer, like, we've been through such hell that to regain composure after that is huge. But to reclaim the midah of gaiva and put it in the right place, hagaiva v'agdula l'chai elamim, no one could touch us. It wouldn't, yispardu kol po'alei oven. Like we said before, yitpardu kol po'alei oven. That even, and to go back to what you said in the beginning, the Erev Rav, there wouldn't be Erev Rav. Because they'd see, I can't stay mixed in this multitude anymore. It's I would be batel b'shishim every second that I'm amongst Am Yisrael. But as long as Erev Rav sees, listen, they themselves have no idea how to really like grab hold of the midah of gaiva properly. I could hang out here. I could continue to make. So again, the focus of the energy is to figure out how do I shomer on the notion that I'm a chelek Eloka mimal, and from there any ounce of koyach in the world happens, and from there any learning that I achieve, everything is from there. Then no one can touch us. Like he ends off here, כשחשים את הגאווה זה נכון, מתבטלים ומתקשרים להשם מתוך ההבנה עד כמה גדול אדוננו ורב כוח, אך כשמעוותים אותה, but when that becomes messed with, that exact thing of look at us, like the Mossad, look at us, like the Mossad books and everything. I read all those Mossad books. There's never Shem Hashem mentioned in any of those Mossad books, the stories. It's never, Elokus has nothing to do with these stories, unfortunately. And those are the things that should make us most proud, right? No, not for a Yid. What makes a Yid really proud is when a Mossad agent is able to do what he does, B'Shem Hashem, L'man Shmo Be'ava. Because otherwise we get too drunk with our own power, forgetting where it came from, and then the opposite begins to happen. Think about it. The closer we were to the Nisim Gluim of 67, and then of course what happened afterwards, the more that crazy things were happening back then with the Mossad all the time. Things that would made the whole world be in awe. The further we've gotten from that period of time, these things, it's not the same thing in the world anymore. And the famous story happened that right after this peace process was in full swing, was one of the biggest mess-ups of the Mossad ever that happened in Jordan, which messed things up tremendously for us because then Bibi had to release the top Hamas leaders, and advarim itgalgelu more and more and more, because if we forget that, it was trying to kill Khalid Mashal Yimach Shemo, went wrong, Mossad agents were caught in Jordan, then they had, the only way they can get out is that they had to release Sheikh Ahmad Yassin Yamach Shemo V'zichro, the Rebbe, Lahavdil of Hamas, and look what happens. Because any movement of Am Yisrael towards Kochi Ve'otzem Yadi, you mamish become powerless. אך כשמעוותים אותה, גם היא הופכת לחלק מאיתנו, כוחי ועוצם ידי. שלום השקר, the peace of lies, היא תהליך בוסר של בקשת שלום אמת. You know what בוסר means? Huh? Right, like it's too early. It's not ripe. תהליך בוסר של בקשת שלום אמת. This what the world is calling, it's too early, it's not right, it's bichlal, not on the timeline of what real shalom means. Shlemut v'shalom shel hametzilut kula im yotzra adon shalom, which really, the real peace is complete shalom, complete peace, a complete picture, all of it with its creator, Adon Shalom. This piece of what Rav Ginsburg is saying is a crucial thing of us understanding what we want the Tikkun Medina to look like, who we want, what kind of people do we want in power. And that is why, unfortunately, there's still no one close that any of us would run to vote for in the Kalpi. because we're still not thinking like this. There's still no netzig that gets up and speaks words like this. So there'll probably be elections again, and then again, another 4-rounder. It'll probably be like this because the neshama of the Am, is ready to lidrosh emet. And that's why it can't stay stuck with another long-term thing again, because it won't work. It'll keep on going like this, because inside, if we listen to the neshama klalis of the Am right now, it's saying, we want Hagaiva v'Hagdula l'chai olamim. We realize already that it's not working the other way. We understand it doesn't work like this. We need something more. This piece over here is very important for us to understand when we speak about how to fix things in this country. Again, restoring Gaiva l'shorsha, which is Hagaiva v'Hagdula l'chai olamim, is just as important. No, it's way more important than any jet carrier. It's way more important than anything, any way that the world understands how neshek, how weapons and strength works. And you know who knows this better than any of us? Those that resemble the utmost anava that we've ever seen before. The chayalim that are on the shetach right now are all walking around, connected to their heart of hearts, Hagaiva v'Hagdula lemi ulemi l'chai olamim. By them, you don't see chayalim walking around taking pride, unholy pride. Am Yisrael, they only speak in terminology of Am Yisrael. We just have to add in the Elokei Yisrael thing into it a bit more, and then it'll all be good. But they're working leman haklal, and that's already the most largest step towards a tikkun of Gaiva. And we just got to be on their shoulders. They're doing it. They are in it. They are showing us what it's all about. Alavai, we should be zochim to just be like mamash soldiers that are ne'emanim to the dreams that Hashem has for us. Hashem wants us to have Mashiach in this world. He doesn't want us to ever speak about these concepts of talich shalom, when if it leads us to the absolute opposite of what it's all about. Okay, we're going to have shir. This year will continue next Monday, and so Wednesday bris upstairs. Friday after Hallel, also breakfast and shir in here.
The first love of learning, you had a concept of Kama, that normally a negative.
Right.